Welcome back to Sneed's Garage. Today we're going to be working on the 96 Ram again. I have a drive axle that needs to be replaced. We may have to replace the wheel bearing while we're in there. We will check all that stuff out and then go from there. If there is anything else that I can think of to show you guys, I will show you today. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's get started. If I don't get started now, I will never finish. This here is the parts that we're going to be putting in the truck today. We've got a wheel bearing and a drive axle. The reason I'm replacing the drive axle is because the universal joints have gone out of it, and it's actually wallered out the housing that holds the universal joint. So we'll get to it. As you can see, the brake job's holding up pretty well. And by the way, my niece is the one that wound up buying this truck for me. But I'm going to go ahead and replace all this stuff because I told her I would do so. But as you can tell, something wrong. Something majorly wrong in there. And the universal is just all messed up. So anyways, we're going to start getting this cracked apart. If you remember in my last video, we wind up doing this, and you can always go back and look and see what's going on with that. But anyways, it's basically reversing what we've done the last time. Got to go back in here and pull the pins back out and get this caliper off so we can get down to getting the rotor off, which is not that bad. It's kind of easy. The hard part's going to be when we get down into this spindle nut for the drive axle. That might be a pain, but I sprayed it the last time that I had it in here. So anyways, let me get this all pulled apart. Got the pins out, set them over here. Pull the brake caliper off. We're going to set that right up there to where it don't move. And then we got to get this rotor off. Like that. Now we got to get in here and get this Carter pin out. It is going to be just a little bit of a pain in the butt. Good thing I got my side cutters here. We're going to get in here and fold this job over. And you can get a little bit of a bite on it down here. Wind up pulling this pin all the way out. That way I can get my socket on there to get the nut out. We'll get in here and get this nut off. Now then, with the nut removed, there's a washer down inside here, and then we'll get to the wheel bearing. Now then that we got the 3 bolts cracked, or the 3 bolts loose and cracked loose, we'll get them tore the rest of the way out so we can start getting this wheel bearing pulled out. The 3 bolts have come loose fairly easy, which I'm kind of surprised because normally these things are a booger to get apart. But it's nice when it works out because it makes the job go by so much easier and so much faster. I have done several of these. I've owned so many of these trucks over the years. That bolt just stays. Then you get the rest of this one out down here. And then we can get ready as soon as this bolts out right here. We'll crack the wheel bearing off And then we can slide this Pexi drive axle out to where we can get your eyes on it. And you can see exactly what is going on with this. All it takes is a little bit of chisel action right behind this bearing to pop it loose from the spindle. And as you can see, here comes the drive axle out with the bearing. I'm going to take this, here comes the spindle bearing off. We'll lay that over to the side. And here's a look at the end of that drive shaft. And as you can tell, we got all kinds of clanky, and that is not good. So let me get this out and we'll get ready to start putting the new one in. Now then, what I like to do is I'll clean up where that bearing went. And I like to take some anti-seize and I like to skosh it on around the outside of there. That way when the wheel bearing goes back together, we don't have to worry about it getting stuck. Now then, what you're going to want to do is on this drive shaft, right back here there's a spot where there's a grease seal inside the front axle housing. What you're going to want to do is put a little bit of grease around this, so that way when you put it back in, you don't wind up tearing up your seal for your front end unit. Because if that seal gets messed up, it makes a heck of a mess. So we'll get this all greased up, we'll get her slid in there, and we'll start reassembling. Now that the axle shaft is slid back in there, what I like to do before I reassemble this part of it also is on these splines, I like to take some anti-seize and anti-seize these splines, and that will also prevent that from sticking together at a later time, which will save a lot of heartache for the next guy that works on it, because I may not be the one to work on it next. But I tell you, I wind up making it pretty slick, and it's going to be a pretty easy job on this one. I do have to say, I haven't had to fight with it as much. Putting this back together is just basically reversing what we did to start with. You work in all 3 bolts a little at a time, so you're not wedging the bearing into the housing, because you don't want to wind up getting it in a bind. So you work all 3 of them, and then we'll reassemble the brakes, and this job will be close to being done. Anyways, that's it on how to do the wheel bearing and the drive axle on this old Dodge truck. Keep an eye out for my new video that'll be coming up shortly. I don't know if it'll be in the next week or so, but I've got to get back on my scamp. I've got to get the seat done, get the carpet in, and I will do a video on that. And if you like what you see, or if you can think of anything, let me know. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd like to make my channel grow as I wind up trying to figure out how I'm going to do all the rest of the stuff that I do. But anyways, thanks for joining me, and have a great day. Bye.